All right, friends and families, welcome back to Math Time with me, Miss X. I'm super excited to have you all here again. Let's go ahead and begin by looking at our objective first, okay? Remember, our objective is always broken up into 3 different parts so we know exactly how we're going to do it, what we need to understand about it, and why we're doing it or why it's important. So you may read with me or in your head as I read out loud to you. I can break the whole or, the bigger number up to take from 10 while working with numbers within 100 in order to work more efficiently. Okay, and then now let's go ahead and go over our vocabulary. This is a recent vocabulary word. This is good to know in the future, okay? Multiples. Multiples is a number you say when you count by or a number you say while you use skip counting. Now, for example, a multiple of 5 would be 25 because you can skip count to 25. All right, let's jump straight into our teacher model, my friends. All right, friends and families, welcome to the teacher model. Let's go ahead and begin by reading our story problem for today. You may read with me or in your head as I read out loud to you. Jacob has 13 bouncy balls. He gives 8 of them to his friend Pete. How many balls does Jacob have left? Okay, my friends, so you guys know as great mathematicians, we always go back and we reread the problem. We also circle important numbers that we see, and then lastly, we underline our question. So let's go ahead and do that. Jacob has 13 bouncy balls, and he gives 8 of them to his friend Pete. How many balls does Jacob have left? Great. So I went ahead and I did all of these things. Now, before we do anything together, I gave you guys one number sentence. And I want you to pause here and talk to a friend or a family member about another number sentence we could use to solve for our story problem. And then we will come back and share it together as a team. All right, my friends, welcome back. So 13 minus 8 is one of our number sentences that we can use to solve our story problem here. We can also use 8 plus 5 equals 13. Now, given that we have a few different number sentences to use to solve our problem, it's probably going to be true that we can have multiple strategies to use to solve. We can count on from 8, we can use fingers, I can use a number bond and take from 10. There's a lot of different ways to go about solving this problem. But for today's lesson, we are going to focus on using our take from 10 strategy. So we're going to record that on our own sheet here, and you may do it with me at home as well. Okay, so I have 13 minus 8, and we know that 13 is going to be the whole, and we know that 8 is a part, so we're also solving for a part. That's really important that you know whether you're solving for a whole or a part. We are going to break 13 up into 3 and 10. And then I'm going to go ahead and group 10 and 8 together because I'm going to be using my take from 10 strategy. And I know that if I take 8 from 10, I'm going to have 2 left. So now we're going to write that number sentence first to reflect what we just did. We took 8 from 10, and that gives us 2. We still have leftovers, so we need another number sentence to show us adding the leftovers. So we have 3 and 2 left over. We're going to go ahead and add those. And you can see that that 2 is also left over from 10 minus 8. So 3 plus 2 equals 5. My solution for 13 minus 8 is going to be 5. And my missing part is 5. Let's return back to our story. What does the 5 mean in our story? It means that Jacob has 5 bouncy balls left. So let's go ahead and write that down to answer our question. Our question reads, how many balls does Jacob have left? Jacob has 5, box in your solution, bouncy balls left. and we're going to go ahead and underline a unit, which is bouncy balls. Okay, now let's pretend that Jacob has 23 bouncy balls instead of 13. So Jacob has 23 bouncy balls, and he decides to be super kind and share 8 of those bouncy balls with his friend Pete. So now we have a new number sentence. Before we do this together as a team, I want you to work on this by yourself first at home, and then we will do it together. So pause here and work on this problem 23 minus 8. All right, my friends, welcome back. Let's go ahead and work on it as a team. So I'm going to use a number bond, a mini number bond, to break 23 up into 13 and 10. This looks a little bit different from what we used to do, which was we would have broken it up into 20 and 3, right? But that doesn't really make sense when we're using our take from 10 strategies. So if you break up a bigger number or the whole and you want to use the take from 10 strategy, you really have to pull a 10 out of that number. So we pull the 10 out of 23, and so the other part is 13. Now we're going to go ahead and group, and we know that 10 minus 8 is going to equal 2. So let's write that down so that we don't forget what we just did. We took 8 from 10, which gives us 2. We still have 2 leftover parts, and you can see that reflected. So we're going to take 13 and we're going to add it with the 2, which is still leftovers. So we still have 2 leftovers. 13 plus 2 equals 15. So our solution is going to be 15. And in this story, if Jacob had 23 bouncy balls and then shared 8 with his friend Pete, he would have had 15 bouncy balls left. And in this story, this middle story here, Jacob would have had 15 bouncy balls, and the 15 represents the amount of bouncy balls left for Jacob. Now, let's keep going, my friends, okay? Let's keep going. Let's pretend now that Jacob has 43 bouncy balls, and then he decided, to share the same amount, so to share 8 balls with Pete. I want you to pause again here, and I want you to work on this problem by yourself first before we work together as a team. And make sure you use the take from 10 strategy, okay? All right, welcome back, my friends. Let's go ahead and look at this together, okay? So, if we're using the take from 10 strategy, we need to always take 10 out from the whole or the part. Sorry, from the whole or the bigger number. Now, if we know that if we took 10 out of 43, we know that 33 is going to be the other part. Because in 43, that's 110. So we're taking out 110 from 43. So that means there's still 3 10s and 3 1s left. And that's how I know that 33 is the other part that makes up 43. Now, I'm going to go ahead and group these friends here. And I'm going to take 8 from 10, which gives me 2. And I'm going to write a baby 2 there. I still have to add our leftover parts, which is 33. That's one of our leftover parts. And then 2 is also a leftover part. 33 plus 2 equals 35. So our solution would be 35. So if Jacob had 35 bouncy balls and he had given away 8 to Pete, he would have 35 bouncy balls left. Whew. So there was a lot going on there. Now, my friends, I have a question for you guys. Is taking from 10 and adding the parts that are left, so is taking from 10 and adding the parts that are left, is that a pattern? Talk to a friend or a family member. Welcome back. So some of you might say no, because so far our patterns have been something that we are able to see. What we've been learning has been that patterns are something we have to be able to see. But we actually found patterns when we were learning in our addition facts in first grade. And when we make 10, that is a pattern too. We just do the same thing over and over again. So a pattern can be something you see, but it's also something that we do again and again. We have a pattern here of taking from 10 and then adding the parts that are left to make an easier problem. Okay, my friends, as you move into your independent practice and your exit ticket, I want you to keep these 3 things in mind, okay? Number 1, make sure you write neatly and keep your work organized. This is very important because these rectangles or these squares are super small, so you need to write neatly and keep your work organized. Number 2, please use mini number bonds and make sure that you have 2 number sentences to show how we used our take 10 strategy and added the leftovers. Number 3, for problem number 3 with the word problem, make sure you use a tape diagram and write a number sentence to show our story. Don't forget to write a complete word sentence on the long line. And underline your units as well as box in your solution so you don't get confused. Make sure you click the link in the box below if you want to access the worksheet. Don't worry about printing it if you don't have a hard copy. Just write down the problems on the worksheet and solve it on your own the best that you can. Good luck. I will see you all in the next lesson.